What's up, you guys? It's Layla Lynn coming at you live from the She Shed with some breaking news about Monique filing a lawsuit against Netflix for the lowball offer they gave her for an exclusive comedy special in November of 2017. Now, we're going to get into the truth about that lawsuit because the way it's being reported in the media is not what you actually see when you look at the lawsuit in black and white. And I told y'all before, I'm only dealing in receipts for the rest of the year is straight receipts. And when I look at the lawsuit in black and white, it's not the same as what the media, mainstream media, has been reporting. Now, in the headlines today, CNN, NBC.com, TMZ, we're seeing Monique files lawsuit against Netflix for discrimination. So, of course, I had to go to the Los Angeles Superior Court. Now, when I look at the court documents, the lawsuit is actually an employment-related lawsuit. The lawsuit is for wrongful termination. So even though it's a bigger headline, it gets more attention. When you say that the lawsuit is for sexual discrimination or racial and gender discrimination, it actually, when it comes down to it, at the core of it is an employment lawsuit, and she's suing them for wrongful termination. Being that I do have the receipts, I have the actual court document, we're going to go through that and see exactly what it says about it in black and white. And we're going to start with the cover sheet. You can see here the name of her attorney, and you can see that it's a civil case for an unlimited amount. She doesn't say the exact amount she wants in the lawsuit, but I just want to point out again that it is an employment lawsuit. Her lawsuit falls under the category of employment, and then you can see under employment, it's for wrongful termination. That's the basis, that's the core of the lawsuit. Now, some of y'all might ask, why is she suing them for wrongful termination when she was never employed by Netflix? According to mainstream media, she rejected the deal. TMZ reports, in the suit, the Oscar-winning actress and comedian accuses Netflix of race-based discrimination for how it negotiated a comedy special with her. She says Netflix offered Amy Schumer $11 million for an hour-long stand-up special, but only offered her $500,000 for her stand-up special. Monique never accepted their offer and went on a public campaign, which included coming on TMZ Live and calling for a boycott against the company. Now, we're going to get into whether or not she accepted the offer, because it might look like she never accepted the offer, but when we get into the lawsuit, it sounds like at one point there was an acceptance and there was a request for negotiation. So again, this is an employment lawsuit, and the first thing when dealing with employment lawsuits, and especially wrongful termination, on the basis, the fundamentals is that you were an employee of the company, that you were an employee, and that the company was your employer. That's the basic fundamentals of this. And on the surface, it looks like Monique was not an employee of Netflix. She was not clocking in and out of Netflix. She didn't have a 401k with Netflix. She never even did the comedy special for Netflix. That's what it looks like on the surface. But legally, even though Monique never actually worked for Netflix, she was never an actual employee of Netflix, she still has grounds to file this lawsuit because the offer that they gave her, the written offer with the $500,000 payment, the lowball offer, could be considered an offer of employment. It could be considered an offer of employment that was rescinded due to discrimination. That's where the discrimination and the racial and gender bias comes in. Now, let's just take a look at this. When you take a look at the lawsuit and what she's actually saying in the lawsuit, the complaint is for 8 things, and they're all related to employment. The first one is race discrimination, disparate treatment, in violation of the Fair Employment and Housing Act. The second one is another one for race discrimination, and it's for another part of the same act. The third one is for sex/gender discrimination, and it's all in violation of the Fair Employment and Housing Act. The fifth one is for retaliation in violation of the Fair Employment and Housing Act. The sixth one is for failure to prevent discrimination and retaliation in violation of the Fair Employment and Housing Act. The seventh one is for discrimination based on race, ethnicity, color, or ancestry. The eighth one is for flat out retaliation. The ninth one is for discrimination in violation of the Unrest Civil Rights Act. And then the 10th one is for unfair business practices. That, if you want to know in black and white what Monique is suing for, what are her complaints, those are her 10 complaints. And again, it all comes down to employment and the violation of the Fair Employment and Housing Act. And let me just say this quickly. On my channel the other day, we talked about misogynoir, when the discrimination is directed specifically towards Black women, not just Black people, but Black women, where the race and gender both play a role. And Monique's lawsuit is a perfect example. She's saying that they didn't discriminate against Black men because they paid Black male comedians like Dave Chappelle, they paid them what they were worth. And they didn't discriminate against just women because they paid Amy Schumer what she was worth. She's saying this is a case basically of misogynoir, where because she was Black and a woman, she wasn't offered equal pay. Now, the way the offer that Netflix sent Monique could be described or labeled as an employment offer is if basically they were treating her as an employee. If you're an employer and you're treating this person who you call a contractor, but you're treating them as an employee, you're telling them what to do, where to do it, and how to do it, then they can still have the right to sue you as an employee suing an employer. If you're contracting with a company, it's like you're a business bringing your services to that company. But in the offer, if they're telling Monique what to do, like basically stand on stage and tell jokes, and they're telling her where to do it, stand on this stage, this is the stage we have set up for you, tell these jokes, make sure it's this amount of minutes long, and they're providing the workplace for her to do it. Like they're setting up the theater, they're setting up the cameras, and all of the human resources and technology that it takes to record that type of comedy special. If they're doing all that, then Monique could argue that they were treating her like an employee. And we can see in the text of the lawsuit that Netflix was exercising complete control over the comedy special as if Monique was their employee. And on point number 64, it says, on or about January 21st, 2018, Netflix communicated an offer of employment to Monique. The offer contemplated employment services to be performed by Monique in California. The offer's terms were as follows. Netflix would pay Monique $500,000 as her talent fee for a 1-hour stand-up original special Monique would perform, but which Netflix would have complete and total control of the manner, means, and method, including Netflix would own the copyright of the program and control all exhibition rights. Netflix would retain all audio-only rights. Netflix would retain all creative and business control, including choice of production company and final cut, for a year after the show's premiere. Monique would have been prohibited from taping or negotiating with any third party with respect to her next comedy special, and after this 1 year's outright prohibition, Monique would still have to give Netflix the first negotiation / first right of refusal after 2 years in the event Monique wished to use the content elsewhere. Now, for you guys who are employed with actual employers, you may notice that a lot of times, like in your employee guidebook or your handbook, you see that anything you do or create while you're an employee of that employer belongs to the employer. You'll see that you signed something very similar to this exact same document that they were asking Monique to sign. And that's because you're an employee of that company, and what you create there during your employment belongs to that company. And you can sue an employer who rescinded a job offer. If an employer makes you a job offer and you move your family, you sell your home, and you make adjustments in your life to accept the job offer, and then they rescind the job offer, you can sue them for damages. You may have the right to sue them because you took action based on their offer of employment. So it sounds like that's what Monique is saying. Monique is saying that this offer that they gave to me was indeed a job offer because they were going to treat me like an employee. And when they rescinded the offer by stopping negotiations, that could be considered wrongful termination, and I want my money. Now, some people might say Monique is reaching. She's doing too much by saying Netflix was offering her employment and that she was going to be an employee of Netflix, so she has employee rights. Some people might say it looks like she's reaching. And in the media, it does, especially because in the media, they're saying that she rejected the offer. But honestly, when it comes down to it, the media, like TMZ doesn't know what Monique told Netflix. They don't know what happened. They weren't there. And if at any point Monique might have told Netflix, you know what, I do accept the offer, but I just want to negotiate the pay. If she said that in an email, I accept it, I want to work with you, but I just want to negotiate the pay, then technically she did accept it with conditions. So she may just have a case despite what the media is saying. Y'all, that's my opinion based on what I'm seeing in black and white. Not when you look at the headlines and the media, but when you look at the actual lawsuit and black and white, and you see that Netflix could be considered her employer because they were setting it up to treat her like an employee, and then they rescinded the offer. It looks like she might just have a case. But leave me a comment and let me know what you think about the whole situation with Monique and Netflix. And I will, once the documents are scanned and uploaded, I will be putting the lawsuit documents in my Patreon, patreon.com/LaylaLynTV. So make sure you join that because that's where the documents will be. As always, thanks for watching.